Hello, my people.
Yeah, where's
it's
Thomas?
Dahlia.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's perfect. Thomas is working. Thomas,
Hi,
our
Thomas.
host. This is Nicole. Nicole.
Hi.
And we have a special guest, Gabby. Hey.
Hey.
And we're going to start out the podcast because Nicole knows that you just finished work, so she bought something for you.
Oh, yeah. So normally we do whatever.
Well, this is gonna be a different kind of episode starter. We're hanging out, we're chilling. Gabby just finished work. We're gonna go into
Is this a grilled cheese?
It's a Cubano.
Oh, you're so cute. Thank you so much.
and we'll go
I'm gonna eat
into
this. Is this
so
chill?
Nicole.
Oh my god. This looks pretty good.
It does look good.
So I got the Cubanos because there's two from Pilar. I don't know.
Oh my god, I've been dying to go there.
Have you really?
I always Google it, and it's like the best Cuban food in New York so far, because everything else that I've tried is pretty bad, but this looks legit. I'm like,
Cafe Habana's bad. You
well,
can
they
talk
serve
shit.
tacos.
That's true.
So I'm like, okay, just because you have ropa vieja on your menu doesn't make you Cuban.
Their Cubans are not that bad. I remember I went there the first time I moved to New York. I was like, I need a good Cuban.
This is good.
Is it good?
The only thing that's hard to get a good Cuban in New York is the bread.
Oh yeah.
And this isn't the bread either.
So can you rate it 10 out of what? Or
Yeah,
1
you
out
could
of...
have another bite.
You have to rate it.
Yeah, 1 out of 10.
One, I respect
1
that
through
they
10.
cut it in the right angle, because it's supposed to be triangle like this, that a lot of people don't. 2, I need another bite.
It's good.
So,
It tastes more like a medianoche, which is like a Cuban sandwich, but the bread is more like a Hawaiian kind of bread, a sweet bread. This isn't sweet, but it has like that soft texture. I'll rate it for New York.
For New York.
Come on, I'm a Miami girl.
I know.
For New York, I'll rate this like a solid 8.5.
wow.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah, for Miami, I would rate it like a 6.
Okay. So I'm going to introduce Gabby a little bit while she eats
While
her
we're eating our
Cubano.
Cubanos, like,
Or maybe I'm going to let Gabby introduce herself.
yeah, Gabby. Hey.
Let me finish chewing.
No, so I'll introduce her a bit. I met Gabby through Danielle, but she comes from Miami. She is the queen of Miami. I don't know how to say.
I was calling you the princess.
The
like when I was
princess.
telling people I was recording. I was
It's hard to be a princess.
I'm talking to the princess of Miami tonight, so like everyone, I did a face mask and everything.
Yeah, princess is, thanks guys, first of all. But I have a lot of sisters, so queen would feel
Oh yeah?
not legit.
How many sisters do you have? Because I know you
I'm
have a
one
lot.
of 5. So
You're one of 5.
I'm sorry, I'm one of 6. I have 5 sisters.
Okay, so there's 6 of you.
Yeah, there's
nice.
6 girls.
Is
And-
it a competition all the time for like attention?
No, not at all. It's actually the complete opposite, because nobody gives a fuck about your opinion. Because they're like, oh, you don't want that for dinner? Great. The other like 7 people in this family do, so cry yourself a river. And you're like, okay, fine.
So did you guys always eat the same food? Because like there's a huge family, so you guys all
Yeah.
the same food. Because recently I've been working and I see it a lot in families now where like everyone makes their own meal.
No.
And I'm like, oh, my parents put food in front of me and I had to eat it.
If you didn't want to eat it, my parents were like, okay, cool, don't eat it.
Yeah.
Be
okay.
hungry.
So
And me and all my sisters are like fatties, so we never said no.
Who
Except
did-
for one time.
Who did the cooking?
Except for one time.
My mom.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times we got food from Versailles. My mom would be like, actually, I realize now that I ate 2 dinners every day growing up. And I was like, guys, this is not healthy. Like, I'm super blessed that I had like amazing meals on the table, but my mom would pick us up from school, take us to Versailles, and then we would all, that's when she would have lunch at like 3 o'clock. And then we would all order a full Cuban course. Like, I'm talking about like fried steak with rice, beans, plantains. And then we would go home, and then we would have dinner at night.
Did you eat lunch at school?
Yeah, I did. I was always a kid with the weird sandwiches, because my mom would give us like weird bread.
Yeah.
Like pumpernickel rice swirl or whatever, and Hawaiian bread. And people just had like white bread. And they're like, why is your bread so weird? I was like, I don't know. Why
Did
do
you
have
go
that
to like an
Lunchables?
all-American school?
No, I went to St. Teresa, which is a pretty Cuban school in Miami.
Oh, okay.
Catholic boy-girl school. So pretty strict, and we had cafeteria food, but my mom always made us sandwiches. I also wasn't that kid that had like a container with like meatballs and like hot food. My mom was not about that. She's like, that's weird. That's for Americans. And I was like, but it looks so good. Let me have one. But it's chill.
And what is this restaurant that you keep talking about?
Yeah, can you tell us a
sorry.
little?
Right.
I mean, we know what Versailles is,
and
but
most people know, but
So Versailles, Cuban restaurant in Miami, Florida.
it's the
is-
Cuban restaurant in
It's
Miami.
the Cuban restaurant. It feels weird to say that about your own family
no,
restaurant.
we looked it up on Google before you got here, and it's just like endless amounts of stuff. And I'm just like, all right, she's just gonna have to tell us.
Yeah, so it's a Cuban restaurant in Miami. It's in Little Havana. It's pretty. It feels so weird saying this, but I guess it's like a pretty iconic spot because anything that happens like politically in Cuba, whenever like there's news coverage in the U.S., it's always like Versailles is a hub. So CNN, NBC, all the news channels like have parking spots there already reserved, and they just like come and they film. So like anything involving Cuban news is like filmed outside of Miami because it's such a big Cuban community there, and it's kind of what we call like the
Is the
exilios.
Cuban news also there?
No, there's no Cuban news. It's a communist government. You don't get that. It's like, the Cuban news is there actually, and it's
So
from
that's
like
what I was
yeah.
wondering.
It's all like the 80-year-olds that are like, oye, déjame decirte algo. And they're just like talking shit, having a cafecito. My dad almost wanted to put a sign over like the little coffee window that said like Fidel Castro has died here over 1 million times. Because every day there's a different theory about like how he died. Now he actually died, but before that, it was like I got news from my cousin's sister's brother who just had a baby. Anyway, I'm like, what's the news? He's like, Castro's dead. I'm like, oh really again? Because that's what he said last Saturday.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's
Was that like all of the 90s? Like you would just come
Was that
in
growing up every day
Every day.
in the restaurant?
every day. I would go there every single day except for the weekends.
Did you ever think you would follow in your dad's footsteps and own, or not own because you're not a restaurant owner, but follow the same path in restaurants?
No, honestly, I really wanted to do theater, which is so
Theater?
nerdy.
Like
yeah,
what
I
part in
studied.
the theater?
I wanted to like be an actress when I was in middle school, and then I went to
Telenovelas or like
no, not telenovelas, but I mean that would be easy. It's just like no.
We should do
¿Por
one
qué
of
me
these.
hiciste esto? It's like so hilarious, and it's like 2 sentences in every single
It's the same
novela.
storyline.
Yeah.
Somebody dies.
And
Someone has
like
a affair.
the housekeeper ends up being like the nice girl who ends up being rich. That's pretty much it. And like the evil stepmom poisons somebody every single time.
exactly.
I'm like, there's a lot of poison going around these novelas. But no, I didn't think that. I went to college and then I studied theater also, and then I realized that actually I don't think I'm that good at this, to be honest. And 2, I was like, even if I were to be amazing and like make it, like if I had that opportunity to make it and be famous, I think I would hate it. Like I hate being on my phone. I hate, honestly, kind of that attention. I know in one of your podcasts you said you would love to be famous. I heard it. You would be a good famous girl.
It's different. Like I don't want to be famous. I want to be known. It's different.
No,
Yeah.
you want to be famous.
I don't want to use the word. Instagram is so hard for me to use. Like it's like the mental work you have to put into using your Instagram and stuff. Like,
But if you're that famous, somebody does your Instagram.
I know
That's true.
but like I also like am going to be afraid to say something stupid or like politically wrong, and then somebody, you know, there's trolls, there's haters out there.
Yeah, that's
we
why you
haven't
just-
had any yet, but
They'll be. Don't worry, everyone gets
After
them.
today.
Sometimes bad press is good. Is
yeah,
any press
All
is
right.
good press. But anyways, we'll
We're
go
going
back to
Gabby.
Gabby. So how did you find yourself in the kitchen then?
So, after college, I always loved to cook, and food in my family has always been like the number one everything. It always is like when we go on vacation, where are we gonna eat? We wake up, we're like having lunch, and we're like, where are we gonna have dinner? It's like kind of too aggressive, honestly. Some people are like, we can't hang with your family. All you guys do is eat. And
My
we're like,
family's
yeah.
the same way, so I get it.
Yeah, and
we
like
don't own a restaurant though.
we just like love to eat, and we're a bunch of girls, and people are kind of like, oh yeah, you guys, I'm sure you love to eat. And we're like, no, we really love to eat, and my dad loves to eat, my mom loves to eat, and my grandma and everybody. But my grandma really was like my main inspiration for food. I feel like everyone's grandma is.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But in my opinion, she's the best chef. And I always just like helped her in the kitchen. I learned her recipes a little bit. I always loved to cook. And then just living in New York and being away from home for so long, which most people in my family kind of went to college and then went back home, but I stayed. And I was trying to act like right after college, and I was like, okay, one day I have work and then I'll have work for like 2 weeks. I'm so bored. So then I was like, let me just go to culinary school. All my sisters are like, you should do it. You're so good at cooking. Just do it. And then I did. I went to culinary school.
Which one did you go to?
ICE.
Okay.
It's like an 8-month program after I had graduated college. And then I was actually going to go work for Momofuku. That's like where my externship was. And my friend Helen, which I know you guys know, she owns Saigon Social. She's like, I'm trailing at Danielle. Just come. Like, you should do it.
I was definitely there for your first trail.
Oh, my God. It was hilarious, my first trail. I had the worst headache, but I was like, Gabby, suck it up and just cut these crones. I didn't even know what crones were. They're like, we need you to clean these crones. I was like, what are these little worms?
I actually remember meeting you because I was just like, oh my gosh, that girl must hate her first day here.
It was fine. I had a terrible headache, but I was just trying to be like, this is amazing. Hey, what's up, everybody? And then whatever, I got offered the position by JFK. And he was like, do you want to work here? And I was pretty honest. I was like, to be honest, this isn't really my style right now. Mm-hmm. I want to work in somewhere that's like a little busier. Also, what I knew from the restaurant business with my family is like volume. Versailles is pretty massive.
Can we just stop and can you tell everyone how many restaurants does your family own in Miami?
I don't know exactly, but
if you had to guess,
like 20, 30.
I tried to look it up online. I couldn't find an accurate number.
Just 20 or 30 restaurants.
We're pretty DL until I just spilled the beans. No, because there's a lot of La Carretas, which we also own, which is another version of Versailles. It's actually across the street from Versailles.
Okay.
So they started with Versailles, my grandfather, and then they bought the lot across the street, and they're like, we're going to put another Cuban restaurant here. And people were like, you're crazy. That's never going to work. Because like at this point, 50 years ago, Cuban food was also not like taking over Miami how it is now. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like one of the first spots. And so they opened another Cuban restaurant across the street, and they were like, let's just do the exact same menu and the same food, but we'll call it La Carreta.
Oh my God.
Which is really funny. Like I hear people in Miami be like, oh, you own Versailles? And I'm like, oh yeah. Just trying to be chill. And they're like, oh, no offense, but La Carreta is so much better. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like, it's pretty good. I like those guys, too. Like, they're pretty cool. I'm just like, it's literally the same food.
But why did they do the same exact food, just different name? They just thought to be smart.
They were just like,
let's just do this.
They're just like, let's just do this. Yeah.
Nice.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So now you own both of the competing restaurants in Miami.
Yeah.
So do you
But there's more La Carretas. Like, we expanded La Carretas, and we always only kept one Versailles, except for the Café Versailles that you see, like, in the airport, which are small. Mm-hmm. But there's one main Versailles, which is why Versailles, I think, is such a, like, legend, because there's only one. La Carreta is a little bit more all over Miami. It's, like, in Hialeah and all parts of Miami. So it's more known by, like, the Cuban people.
But Versailles is, like, the
king.
The king.
Yeah, the king.
The king.
The king.
What do you guys call it at home? Do you just call it Versailles and that's it?
Versailles. Sometimes we say the V.
The V. I'm going to the V.
But it's Versailles. Yeah.
So me and Nicole are going to close our eyes.
Okay.
And you're going to bring us back to you being 6 years old, finishing school, walking around the restaurant. What do you see? What are people talking about?
Okay.
And then, like,
it doesn't have to be 6. You can be like 15, whatever
like when
you
you're
want.
young and you were just, and when did you like, and then like start bringing up the realization, like, oh my gosh, like this is actually like a big place, and like
this is a big, much bigger than you probably ever imagined it when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, this is pretty easy because I would run around as a kid everywhere. Like, my parents just let us run wild, and there was like, it was hard to control us. Yeah, they were just like, don't.
Are you the
Don't
youngest?
kill each other.
Yeah, I'm number 5, so there's one younger than me.
Okay.
But I was the youngest for a while.
Number 5 is what you guys call
Yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
that's how my mom
I think I met
introduces us.
3 of your sisters.
Yeah, in
Miami.
In a Balloon Suit event in Miami.
Yes.
Yeah, you probably did. Yeah, that was embarrassing. My family took over that dinner. I was like,
They took the entire restaurant.
They're
It
like,
was
okay, so
amazing.
this dinner went from like 40 people to like 60, and I'm like, sorry, that's my family. They took over. But okay, so when I was young, I would come in my uniform. Sometimes I would eat McDonald's there, which I can't believe my mom let me do. She's like, just sit in the corner and don't tell anybody. But most of the time, I would eat Cuban food there, and we just like run wild. And so Versailles sort of works like there's a main restaurant, and then in between the restaurant, there's like the ventanita, which is where you just go to get coffee and croquetas.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a quick.
Which are so good, by the way.
Yeah, they're the best, honestly.
I almost got croquetas, but I was thinking that by the time you got here, they'd probably be soggy and not as good.
Yeah, they're still
But
always
next
good.
time.
And then between that, so it's the ventanita, and then there's the bakery side. So we would just run to the ventanita, and there used to be candy, which like we don't sell anymore, but underneath like the glass station, there was candy. So we would just stick like all of our pockets with candies and pastelitos and croquetas. And at that age, like I wasn't drinking cafecitos, but I kind of was, which is not chill because I was like 6 years old.
Yeah.
And like coffee stunts your growth, and why are you giving this kid like the world's strongest
You're fine
coffee?
now.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty tall, it's fine.
I remember I ordered one and everyone at the table was like, you're crazy, it's 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I have to. Like, I have to.
Do you want to explain to the listeners what a cafecito is?
So a cafecito is it's made in an Italian espresso machine. It's like a little espresso, but it's an espresso on crack, literally.
So good.
And it has a lot of sugar in it. So essentially, like the first drip that comes out of the espresso machine is very thick because it's like the first drip from the coffee. And you have to pay close attention and get that drip and pour it into like 3 tablespoons of sugar, depending on the amount. Like 3
tablespoons
like
of sugar
3 tablespoons
for
of
one
sugar.
shot of
No,
espresso?
3 tablespoons of sugar will give you like 5 cafecitos.
That's
It's still
still
pretty
a
strong.
lot,
It's
though.
a lot. And so you put,
It's just a shot of espresso.
it's crazy. It's a little shot of espresso. So the first drip that comes out, you put it into that sugar and you have to whip it. You have to whip it like really hard with a spoon, usually like in a Pyrex or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out to look like peanut butter almost. Somebody described it to me as peanut butter, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good description. It looks like peanut butter when you're done like whipping the first drip with the sugar. And then you just pour the rest of it in. But it's super strong, and everybody that drinks it is like wired. I actually used to make it at Barbalude at the end of my shift for like the night crew.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Yeah, it was. It takes like a lot of arm muscle. So like a good Cuban lady's like right arm is always a little ripped from whipping.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would drink cafecitos there, which is that's what that is. Mm-hmm. And I would just stuff my face with pastelitos, which are like Cuban pastries. And my favorite was de queso, which is like a cheese one that has a bunch of sugar on top. Cuban food has so much sugar and so much fat, and it's so delicious. And then I also would eat the guava ones, which now are really my favorite, but I go back and forth from cheese and guava. There's a combo.
Isn't there a combo cheese and
There
guava?
is, but I'm not a combo girl because I never feel like there's enough guava or enough cheese. But some people swear by the combo, which is a triangle shape.
Okay.
But I'm like a good pastelito de guayaba. To me, there's really nothing better. Straight out of the oven, forget about it.
So did your parents ever make you work there?
I worked there like in the summers.
The summers
Of high school.
of high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked in the bakery, mainly.
Doing baking?
Not
and,
doing
like, what were
baking,
you
just
doing?
kind of like serving.
Okay.
I'm not serving, like, I've never actually, like, bussed a table. Like, even now where I work now, sometimes I have to take the plates, and I'm like, wow, I'm really bad at this. I can't even, like, hold more than, like...
It's hard.
I can't hold 2 plates in, like, one hand. I'm terrible.
But did you have to work there? Were your parents like, okay, now it's your time to work here? Or
My
did you
parents
choose?
never really forced us to work there. My older sister worked there in the summers because she was, like, the first one. They're like, you have to do this. And then they kind of stopped at her. And then I was like, they're like, whatever. And then I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I'm just down to, like, talk to people, and Cuban people could talk forever. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't, like, bussing tables or anything because I was in the bakery. So I was just, like, putting the pastelitos and the croquetas and anything anybody would order, and, like, from the big windows in the little bags for them, and just, like, boxing up pastries, essentially. And I don't even love pastries or dessert. I'm really a savory girl. But that's just kind of where they put me.
Do you
So
have
it's
to do
cool.
dessert now?
I have to, and I was like dreading it. This is at the restaurant I'm working at now, and I just got a KitchenAid, and that was kind of my excuse. I was like, I need a KitchenAid to make dessert,
No,
and it
it's
just
true,
came
though.
in, and I'm like, shit. Now
You're
I have to
"Ah,
like
now I have
make
to
something.
make desserts.
Yeah. but
So
it'll be
who
fine.
created the recipes at Versailles?
So
They old family recipes?
a lot of them
or-
are old family recipes. We don't have chefs really. We have like an executive chef, but he kind of goes around and just like oversees like all the operation and make sure everything's sort of smooth. But it's nothing like secret or anything. It's just Cuban, good classic Cuban food. It's very like sofrito, which is the base to Cuban food, which is like pepper, red pepper, onion, garlic, tomato paste. It's sort of the base of everything. And so it's just very simple recipes. It's not like secret. So it's like everyone's been cooking this. I mean, I think we do it better because we have such high volume. So everything's always so fresh. Like nothing sits there like overnight.
Because it can't. It's
It
already
can't. Like
sold
you
out.
can't keep up with it, you know? So I think that's why like, and we like kind of source our own meat.
Do you bake your own bread for the
We
sandwiches?
break our own bread, which is, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We have, it's pretty crazy. Like, if you guys ever go, I'll take you to the upstairs part. I worked there a lot during COVID to like, help my family, and I was working kind of, we were really short pastelito people, and I never realized how labor intensive making a pastelito is. I thought a lot of it was done in a machine, and it's not. The only thing that's done in machine is like when they roll the dough, and everything is like by hand, and it's, and all the pastelitos come from Versailles, even for la carretas and stuff,
Oh,
and
wow.
for the airport. So
Wow.
it takes a lot of work. Like these guys get there, and they're like old little Cuban men that've been there forever and love it. And they get there at 5 a.m. and they leave at like 6 p.m. And all they do all day is make pastelitos. It's wild. And I was like helping them, and I was like, this is crazy. It was so funny also like helping them because it's such a Cuban kitchen. It's such, sorry, I'm just talking so much.
No, this is about
this
you.
is so
This is great.
interesting.
It's such a Cuban kitchen, and like Cuban, I mean, I love Cuban people, like,
Yeah, but
obviously.
you
But
have
they're
your-
they're very like machismo, like they're very, oh, you're a lady, like don't pick this up. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that.
And
So
you're the daughter.
And you're
Yeah, and I'm
probably
the
like
daughter.
2 times taller than like
I'm
all of.
taller than a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm 5'9", everybody.
Yeah,
but I'm
Gabby's
not
tall.
giant, but like I'm pretty tall. And they're always like, there's the pastry bag. It's like to pipe the the guava into the pastelitos, but it's massive. It's like a pastry bag that's like huge. And I go to get it, and they call it the manguera, which is a hose. And they're like, oh, you could just do this part. And I see them doing it. I'm watching it. And first, I'm just like watching them. I'm watching each one's technique to try to see like what I think's best. How can I be most efficient? And then when I get down to like what they ask me to do, I'm like, okay, well, I finish. Let me be proactive and like fill up this pastry bag and keep going. And they see me again. They're all like, no. Ay, mi madre. No, they're like freaking out. I'm like, what's up, guys? Like, am I doing something wrong? And they're like, I just can't believe that you have like the balls to grab the manguera, which is a pastry bag. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, nobody ever wants to do that because it's like so aggressive. And I'm like, guys, I work in a kitchen. Like I
Like
already
you-
told you this. Like it's a pastry bag filled with guava. And they're just like, think it's like so hilarious. They're like, none of the women ever do that. Like they're always too intimidated by it. And even the men that have been working here, some of them don't even do it. I'm like,
Oh my god.
I make stock.
Yeah, you're like, do you know how much I have to do in New
So
York and how
I-
much I have to pick up?
I know I like can't pick anything up around them, which is so sweet. But I'm like, guys,
No.
like this is just slowing me down. I'm
Yeah.
like, please just let me pick this up.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Is there anything when you walk into that restaurant that you would love to change, but like you know you can't because like it's like
Yeah.
you know it's all consistency. Like they've all been doing it. Every worker there
Yeah.
has been doing the same thing every day. But like
Yeah.
you have all this experience now.
I think more in the kitchen than the outside. When I
Yeah.
walk in now, after like being like a cook in New York City and seeing from like Danielle and all these places that everything runs so smoothly, when I see it, I'm like, wow, we are like operating just like very efficiently, but it's just it's so different. So I'm like, I wish it was more of a system, and there's not really a
Like of a
system in place.
flow.
Of a system, just like
Yeah.
this person's in charge of this. This is how we do this, and they're just like a bunch of cooks that figure it out and they follow everything like the way they should. But it's in such a like massive scale that it's hard for them to like have a full system.
Okay.
And I want to be like, oh, like FIFO, like first in, first out. And like my first day there, I was like, guys, we're FIFOing, like, and they were just kind of looking at me like, okay, I don't get it. And then I realized why they didn't get it. I'm like, oh, because this
They don't do
is
it.
gonna be used like in the end of the night, there's not going to be anything left. So like you don't understand FIFO because their first in is always like just out right away.
Yeah.
Like there's no
need for
there's
it.
no need for it. But yeah, I mean, I'd if I were to open another Versailles like in New York or somewhere, I would definitely make it more like with a system, more organized. But when I see how it runs there, I'm just like, this is awesome. I'm just like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I would like not be able to manage this. It's so wild. It's so much bigger.
Who manages it?
It's like a group. It's like a group of people.
So your parents are involved still?
Yes, my dad is there. My family has lunch there Monday through Friday every single day from 2 p.m. to like 4. So you could catch them there every day in the back table by the bathrooms.
That's
like
their place.
my whole family. Every day. It's wild. But yeah, my dad is very involved, even though he probably shouldn't be as involved. He's just like a work addict. He loves it. And he's like in the kitchen, and he's never really been a chef, but he likes to be in the kitchen. So he goes in and he's like trying to do his thing. Sometimes I see him like during COVID, I was like, Dad, like whispering to his ear, like, wait, don't put that in there yet. Like, wait till this finishes cooking, and then throw the garlic where it's gonna burn. And he's like, yes, you gotta wait till this finishes cooking, because then the garlic's gonna burn. And he's like repeating what I'm telling him in his ear, but he actually knows everything. Yeah. Like he knows the whole place. He started bussing tables. Like he could talk to you about like why this stool is efficient, because when they're coming to clean, like the other stool gets in the way. Like he just knows everything. He's the boss.
Do you think one day you're gonna take over the family business?
I think not me by myself, because 3 of my sisters already work there, my 3 older sisters, but they don't work in the kitchen. They like manage everything. They work in the office, which is across the street from Versailles. But yeah, I probably will eventually be the one that's like doing operations like in the kitchens, like making sure everything's smooth and probably bettering the recipes a little bit. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of my
and if people love it the way it is now in Miami, why change it? I didn't know you would even consider opening a Versailles in New York. Is that a thought you've had?
Yeah, I wanted to do it during COVID. I sort of was working on like a business plan to do that here, and I took it to my family. I was like, guys, you know I'm bad at business. I worked really hard on this business plan. Let's rock and roll. And they kind of were just like, my dad was pretty sad because I was helping him in COVID a lot. And then I came back to New York, and he's like, I lost her. Like he thought that this was my moment to move back home. And I've been in New York for 11 years now.
Are you the only sister that's away?
No, my little sister graduated college last year from Northeastern in Boston.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
And, yeah,
that's
she's awesome.
School.
She studied mechanical engineering.
Wow.
She's a little brain. Yeah, she's super cool. And so she doesn't want to move back to Miami because she's like, I can't get a good mechanical engineering job there. I can, but not as good as I could get one like in Boston. She wants to do like aerospace and stuff like that. So, yeah, she's a badass. And then
we were literally just talking about we only know how to cook.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. And then my other sister, so number 6 is in Boston, number 5, which is me, is in New York, and then number 4 lives between Miami and New York. She's an artist, so she's back and forth. But I'm the one that's been gone like the longest.
Oh.
So and I'm like the only one in the kitchen, so my dad's kind of like,
he likes
to show me off, which is so cute, and I'm just like,
I don't know why people
he's
like
probably
to show
so
off
proud
the
of
chef
you.
in the family.
Yeah, because he always had like I think it's because he never really got the chance to like be in the kitchen. I think he would have loved that chance, but he had to like work really hard at everything else. And so I think it's just nice for him to be like, oh, also he didn't have a son.
And you're the
so
son.
You're the son.
I feel like now I'm the son he never had. No, my sisters are amazing, and they run it. Without them, like, you know, we wouldn't be where we are. But it is nice for him to just be like, oh, she's in the kitchen. She knows what she's doing. Like, it's just fun for him to be like, I have a daughter that's like in the kitchen, and he's really sad that I'm not there right now.
So you showed him this business plan.
Yeah, and he was just like super salty about New York. He's like, the rent there, are you crazy? I'm like, it's COVID, we could get rent for cheaper. And he was like, But
and
I'm still working on it.
The following you could have in New York would be amazing.
have an amazing following here.
I think so too, and he knows it, but he's just sort of like, if I do this, I probably won't come back. And so for him, it's more of a,
You could be the New York
Yeah,
princess.
you can't do both.
You could be the
Yeah.
New York queen.
He's like, we have such a good system here. Why do you need to like expand it? I'm like, because I love New York and I want to live here.
Yeah.
And it could be yours.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing something that's similar just here?
Like another
calling
kind
it
of Cuban.
something else?
Like
Yeah, but
Versailles
I feel like
number
that would be so
2.
silly to just not use the Versailles name, you know? I thought
Okay.
about it, but everybody's like, that's a terrible idea. If you're going to do Cuban food in New York, like, it needs to be a Cafe Versailles in New York City. That's sort of like the feedback I got. But, I mean, Cuban food is, it's not like what I want to be cooking all the time, but
Yeah.
I know it, so I'm good at it.
So what is your dream?
My dream is to own a bunch of Cafe Versailleses.
In
Also,
New York
like
City.
in New York City. Also, I want to like. I feel like once it's done, This is pretty cheesy, but when I first became a chef or a line cook at Bar Balude, I met one of the chefs. His name was Randy. I'm still pretty salty about it. And he's like, "Why are you a cook? Like, you're like a pretty girl in the kitchen. Like, why are you doing this? You don't need to do this."
Which Randy are we talking about?
I know exactly what
I
you're
know.
talking
I'm
about.
just kidding.
And I was just like, because like I want to be here. And he's like, "Whatever, you're not gonna last here." And I was like, "Okay, thanks for the support, chef." Yeah, he actually used to work at Danielle as a cook.
No, we know.
If you're listening, Randy, you really shot me down, bro. No. And then he's like, "Why are you doing it?" I remember I told him, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but I was like, "Oh, family honor. Like, it's really why I'm doing it." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I just like, I want to make my dad proud. Like, I want him to have like a kid that was in the kitchen that can like
That
do
can
this
run-
for him. And like,
Yeah.
I know that he really wants this, and like, I really want to like be able to give this to him." And he was kind of like, "Oh, if you're not doing this for yourself, like, you're never gonna last in this industry." And I kind of was like, "Okay, well, I obviously have a lot of family honor, and you obviously don't. So whatever." So yeah, now I feel like I'm kind of going back on it because I'm like, I want to be in New York. But I do feel like if I made it in New York and it was successful here, to me that would be like the greatest gift I could give my dad, because I know that he would love to like expand, but he's just like a good Cuban man. He wants all his like little chickens at
his
home.
eggs
you know?
in a basket.
Yeah. But my dream would be like expanding the family business for my dad, because he's worked so hard and he's just so old school. He doesn't like know that that's possible, and it's so possible for him. Like, he doesn't even own an email address. I'm like, "Dad, you have a lot of employees." Like, he's like, "Yeah, if they have something and you talk to me, they could give me a phone call." I'm like, "Okay." And his secretary's like 70.
Is everything
Like just
on
as old
paper?
as him.
Everything's like, I mean, now my sisters are there, so they're just
Yeah,
like the ones
they're-
answering the email. But like, he doesn't even own a computer in his office. It's literally a yellow
office.
pad. It's like a yellow paper pad. So yeah,
That's
but that would be
hilarious.
cool. That would be my dream. And then my own little like sort of passion project would probably be more of a cool bar in New York City that serves like a very small menu, maybe like 5 dishes.
Could be like Versailles cocktail bar.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be like a good bar with like a pool table and just like a cool scene.
Yeah.
And just like, even if it was pasta or whatever, I'm not crazy about pasta, but if it was like 5 incredible pastas
Yeah, just something
and like
nice.
a great bar and just more of a vibe.
Yeah.
That would be like more of my dream, but I would love to open like a Cuban restaurant here too for my
So
family.
one thing we talked about before is there was a lot of controversy about you ever going back to Cuba,
Yeah.
your family. So
For sure.
I'm wondering, have you been to Cuba?
I
You're
have.
very Cuban, like,
I have.
through and
I have.
through,
Yeah,
but-
I'm very Cuban, and out of all 6 sisters, it's only me and sister number 4 that went. And the first
wow.
the first time because like, for a little context, like a very Cuban Miami person does not go back to Cuba because they're exiles. They were kicked out of their country, and we know the truth about Cuba, and it's a communist country. So all the money that you're like spending there just goes back to like the Castro regime, even though it's made to look like it's not. It is. And now I think more than ever, it's a little bit more apparent in the world with everything that's going on in Cuba. But yeah, a very Cuban family does not go back to Cuba. They do not support that government, but they're like obsessed with Cuba and they love Cuba, and like Miami is essentially Cuba. And so,
It
yeah.
is.
It is
I
Cuba.
did not realize that
Yeah.
until I got down there and everyone was speaking Spanish to me. I'm like, oh, I should know Spanish.
Yeah, it's crazy. My grandma's lived there forever, and she only speaks Spanish, and she worked in a bank. Like, I was like, how did you manage that?
No, she can.
Yeah.
She did.
It's crazy. So I went to Cuba with my sister, and we told my mom, and she was like, fine, let me like figure this out for you guys. And then we didn't tell my dad till the night before we were leaving, and my grandfather. And they were just like, what?
When was the last time they were there?
When they left.
Oh, wow.
So they've never gone back. And most of my family's in Miami. And my dad was just like so disappointed. He's like, and also scared for us. He's like, first of all, the Cuban government hates us.
You specific, like your family
our
specifically.
family. Yeah, we're sort of like the anti-communism Castro regime family, because everything's
Miami.
based in Versailles, which is just like the most.
The news report.
Yeah.
The news
All there.
reports.
Yeah. So they're like, you don't understand. Like, it's a scary place. Like, what if they do something to you? And then, so whatever. So we went anyway. We're like, Dad, we'll be fine. We're just two girls. I definitely felt like I was being watched the whole time. I'm not gonna lie, but everybody's being watched there. It's crazy.
Yes,
And
it's a communist
yeah,
country.
it's crazy. Like the moment you land from the airport, you're like clearly being watched. And when I
I mean,
went,
your passports don't lie.
Yeah.
They know who you are.
yeah, and I went right when like they had sort of allowed it.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah, one of
people
the
that
first. Yeah. And so I went, and the Cuban people weren't used to having Miami Cubans going to visit. They're used to like Canadians and like a lot of like Chinese or Asian tourists. So I would go around and like speak Spanish to people, but I clearly looked like a tourist just because like I was dressed differently,
yeah.
and they would just be like, what? So confused. Like, how does this girl speak Spanish? And then I was like, oh, soy cubana de Miami. I'm like, I'm from Miami. I'm Cuban. And they're like, oh, no way. And then I was like, my sister was like busy taking a million photos. And I was just talking to people and I'm like trying to get like inside scoop. But they were so scared to talk. And like, they'd be like, they're watching. And they'd point at the trees. And I'm like, there's nothing up there. And they're like, there's cameras. They're always watching. They're always listening. Like, be careful.
And
I
you
was
can
like,
wow,
confirm
that's
that
so
'cause you felt
scary.
that.
Yeah, and I was like, that's so sad. Like, even if they're not being watched, like, they have that fear that they're being watched, and I'm sure they are. And so when I went there, I realized it was such a facade. It's like, you're meant to go to, like, Havana. Maybe you travel to, like, Valadero, like, one of the beaches. And it's such a, like, yellow brick road that they want you to follow. So everything looks like it's very chill and very cool. And me and my sister, like, we speak Spanish, just fucking bounce.
Let's
And,
go.
like, let's go. And we went to like where they gave the food rations out, which when we got there and we had like a camera, they were like, no, you can't be here. Like, obviously in Spanish, you're like, please, like, you're gonna get us in trouble. Like, I felt bad. I was like, oh shit, no, I'm actually gonna get them in trouble for like maybe
Allowing you to take a
us to be
photo.
in there. And I was speaking to people and I was like, is this enough food for you for like the month? And like there was a sign that said like, I think I went in July, and it was like, this food is like for June and July. Like there was a poster in Spanish. Like these rations are for both months. And I asked them, I'm like, what do you guys get? They're like, we get 5 pounds of rice. We get 5 pounds of beans.
Oh my God.
We get like a 4th cup of olive oil or just regular oil. And we get 2 eggs, like 2 actual eggs. And they're like, that's
Wow.
what we're supposed to like survive off of. And I was like, oh my God, so does that last for the month? They're like, it lasts for half a month and you're like starving, like during that half month. And it's not like they could just go to the market and buy food. There's like 2 currencies also, which is like so sneaky. There's CUCs and the Cuban peso. Well, now they just changed it, but at the time. And like the tourists got CUC. So when you went there and switched money, you would get a CUC. So everything was priced in like the markets that looked like they had everything in a CUC, but the Cuban couldn't pay in that money. They had to pay like in a peso. So it was like 13-1. So like that bottle of water that costs a tourist like 1 CUC costs a Cuban 13 Cuban pesos.
Wow.
And so it was like insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so it's just very fake.
So
and
there's like the tourist money, and then there's.
So were you sad after the trip more than anything?
I was not sad because I was like, I'm so Cuban. I feel so Cuban. I know this like country so well because every like Cuban's job is to be like, love your land, don't hate it. Like they teach you so much. Like you have so much Cuban pride in you. But like I was never able to go and visit it, and that's why I really, really wanted to go, even though it was like against my family's wishes. I was like, I love this place. I need to just see
At least once.
like what this is. And so I wasn't sad because I was able to see like was able to imagine how beautiful it was in its prime. But it was so sad to see everything just crumbled and destroyed. And that's why people were like, it's so cool, like the cars and the architecture is so beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, that was beautiful because it was beautiful then. Like it was like the pearl of the Caribbean. It was a gorgeous country. And now it still has those things, which is cool for a photo, but it's just like stopped in time and everything's like crumbling and falling apart. And people are hungry. But the Cuban people are they're Caribbeaners. Like people from the Caribbean are like always such good spirited people. So they're like starving, but they're like dancing on the street trying to have a good time.
Oh.
And it's just like heartbreaking, you know. It's sad, but it's really beautiful. I'm happy I went, honestly.
Did you eat good?
No, it was honestly the worst food
Wow.
I've ever eaten.
I was not expecting you to say that.
The worst food I've ever eaten out of any vacation I've ever gone on.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Because the only places that have food are like tourist restaurants.
Uh-huh.
And they don't even know how to like even cook Cuban food anymore because they don't have anything. Like they literally don't have anything. Like if you own chickens in your backyard, technically those aren't your chickens. They're still the government's chickens. So like if you own a cow and you kill it, like you could go to jail. Even though it's in your yard and you're raising it and you're doing everything. They don't have food, but like it's illegal for a Cuban to eat lobster, which is crazy. But
Why?
So you go to a hotel and you see lobster and you're like, wait, how is this possible? And it's illegal for you because to catch lobster, you need to like dive. So you need to go on like a boat and catch a lobster. And it's illegal for a Cuban to go on a boat because then they escape to Miami. So it's literally illegal for you to eat lobster. But if you go to the hotels, there's lobster. So everything's like this black market that the government knows happens because if not, like the people would really like starve to death. But it's still illegal so that when they want to come and knock on your door and be like, you fucked up, we're taking you to prison, they can. It's pretty sad.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So can you told me this one story about the day that Fidel Castro died.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share? I know it sounds like terrible because...
But was
No,
there
it's not.
was it a specific part of the story?
No, just about how
Like the culture was in
how
Miami?
the culture was it in Miami for you and how it made you feel.
Wouldn't you be in New York, though?
I actually felt like it was the greatest gift that was ever given to me. I was in culinary school and it was like Thanksgiving weekend. So I had gone back home to Miami and I'll never forget this. We were in, me and my family were all in our house together and it was a kind of little chilly for Miami. It was probably like 70 degrees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
it was
freezing, put
definitely
your coats on.
not chilly.
So we had like a little bonfire outside and my bad. We had a little bonfire outside and we get a phone call from CNN being like,
No
we
big
want
deal,
it
from
by the way.
CNN.
yeah,
No big
crazy,
deal.
no big deal, very chill. And they're like, I don't know. At this point, I'm just like still trying to realize it all. I'm like, what's happening? And there's a phone call being like, hey, we just got word that Fidel Castro died. By the way, the word had kind of already spread a little bit in Miami by the Cubans, but it wasn't official. But they're like,
course.
we haven't seen him in the papers for a while. He must be dead. So we get a phone call from CNN and they're like, it's confirmed Castro died, but we want to let you guys know before we air it on the news so that like Versailles is
Go
prepared.
get ready at your restaurant.
And we're like,
Yeah, go run.
Holy
Put
shit.
the decorations
At
up.
this point, I'm telling you, me and my family had started a bonfire. We're all like pretty drunk. We're like having the best time. I'll never forget. I wasn't like that drunk because I drove, but like I was about to get wasted. And my sister, which I make so much fun of her, my oldest sister, she's always in her trunk of her car had a Fidel Castro's dead outfit. And I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, it's a pair of sneakers, it's a pair of leggings, it's like a t-shirt, and it's like a pair of Converse or something. She's like, the day Castro dies, I want to be prepared to like just
run.
to just jet to Versailles.
Wow,
That's
that's
hilarious.
And she actually used it, which is to me one of the funniest things because she's had that outfit in her car for like 5 years. Like me and the rest of my sisters make so much fun of her for it, but she actually used
And
it.
guess what? She was prepared.
She was prepared. I was like I don't even know what I was wearing, but So I'm driving down
jacket, 'cause
at
it was 70
It's
degrees.
cold. I like driving,
Sweatpants.
speeding like through I-95, like the highway. We get to Versailles. We like tell all the staff. They like instantly start like partying. They're like, "Oh my god!" And the trucks are
What
already
time was
there.
this?
This was at night. So they did it really late at night to like kind of quiet the noise a little bit because they knew it was gonna get really rowdy. So they aired it at like 11 o'clock at night. But that didn't stop anybody in Miami. If anything,
Definitely
it made
not
it
in
more
Miami.
wild.
Oh,
Like
no.
perfect time. I was about to go to the club, but I guess
Yeah.
I'll go to Versailles. And I pull in and like all the trucks are there and they air it. And instantly within like 10 minutes, the entire, and I have like some photos I could show you later, but like the entire like 4 streets surrounding Versailles was completely blocked off with like like thousands of people
Wow,
already
that's
with
crazy.
Cuban like Fidel, like I don't know how they printed them so fast or they already had them like Fidel Castro
like her
dyed
sister. They
t-shirts. Yeah,
had
they
them
were
ready.
ready.
They had them ready.
It was ready. All these grandmas out on the street, and like when something very Cuban happens, it's called like your cazuelas, which are your cooking pans. It's like a very Cuban thing to get like your cooking pans and like spoons and just like bang them, and like the street was just like banging with like pots and pans, and like there was like all these guys are like Cuban with their trunks open and like playing Celia Cruz and all this super Cuban music.
That's so funny.
And the party went on from like 11, maybe it was like 10 or 11 when they announced it, till like 6 a.m. And the only reason we had to shut down was like our system like reboots and like we don't know how to control it like at 6:30. So we had to like shut
so
the
you
restaurant.
were serving food.
Yeah,
during
it
this
was
whole
wild.
entire
Like
time?
my dad,
And
my
everyone was
grandfather-
probably so happy to be working.
so
it.
happy. Everybody was like the best energy. My grandfather and my dad were smoking cigars inside. They didn't give a fuck. They were like, everybody could do everything. They're like, they were passing out like champagne. Like it was just so fun. It was such a party. And I remember going up to like the roof of Versailles because you have access to like the bakery and looking down, and it was just like one of the most like. That's when I realized, like, wow, this place
you
is
cry?
so much bigger. Yeah, I cried. I was like, this place
Of
is so much
course
bigger
she
than me.
cried.
Like, it's so much bigger than me and my family. Like, this restaurant is like it's like a restaurant
It's
for the people.
Cuban's
It's like
capital.
really, yeah. It's like everyone here is just like so happy to be here, and like we're so lucky to just like give people a space to just like celebrate and like be Cuban and like be themselves and like be excited. And that's when I realized, like, wow, this place is fucking sick. I mean, I always knew it, but I was like, this is like such a reminder. And I was so happy that it was during Thanksgiving weekend because I would have been so sad if I missed it. I would have
Yeah,
literally,
that's
no
so
matter what I was doing, I would have left like on a plane right away. But
I would have if I was you.
You would have been like, sorry, I have to go by.
yeah, I would have been like, bye.
Family emergency.
Yeah, seriously.
Aw, that sounds.
Yeah, it was
sounds
awesome.
like
And the
fun.
party lasted for like 4 days. Like the streets were blocked off. Like it was crazy. It didn't stop. It did not stop. It was wild. I have so many videos of me just like on the street with random people just like cheering and celebrating. It's so fun.
And how long did that go for?
For
You said
like
4
4
days.
days.
4 days.
Maybe
Wow.
longer, but like after 4 days, like
It calmed down.
it went from like thousands of people to just like hundreds. It was wild.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It was crazy.
Did you guys have a special on the menu?
No.
What'd you call it? Sorry, that's terrible. It's
No.
so terrible to celebrate the death of someone.
It's crazy, but like it's a Cuban.
It's a
There's a
huge
Cuban,
thing.
like you know a lot of people know like the toast para arriba, para abajo,
Yeah.
para el centro, para adentro. Cubans say like para arriba, para abajo, Fidel pa carajo, which is just like Fidel to hell, and which is so funny. And just like cheers, Fidel to hell. Like no matter what, that's a Cuban toast. Even people still say it now, even though he's already dead.
I mean, it's
And-
crazy to see this in our lifetime, or to see your family. To hear everything that they had to go through, and to see it, and then to see hopefully what is the beginning of the end
Yeah.
of how bad it was.
Yeah.
Right.
For
But
sure.
it's still slowly.
It's still bad, especially with everything that's going on now.
yeah.
It's like the first time in 50 years that, you know, people are really standing up for themselves in Cuba because you can't do that. Like, you'll be sentenced to death. But they're fed up and they're just like over it. And so many people are like disappearing and it's terrible. They're like, if you don't come and join like our communist military, I'm going to kill you and your family. Like, that's literally what's going on right now. The government shut off like the internet completely. right, when they
people
were like,
can't
so
know
people can't
anything.
communicate. Power was like off, right, when like kind of the news started breaking out. They just shut everything down. But like you still get all these like videos that like are being sent like secretly, and it's so sad. But it's sort of like the beginning of like them being like, we're fed up. And it's hard because you're like, you want them to fight, but they can't really fight because there's no weapons. They don't have weapons. The only people that have, there's no like, Cuba isn't dangerous. Like a lot of South American countries are dangerous. There's like
there's
cartels
weapons.
and weapons. Like the Cuban people don't have that. So they're literally fighting with like pens.
Yeah.
And it's like the military has weapons. So it's like, how do you show up to a gunfight completely empty-handed? Like, so it's like shows how desperate they are to like
stand up.
And they're still standing up.
And they're still standing up. And that's why like it used to be wet foot, dry foot policy, which meant like if you touched American soil as a Cuban, you're instantly a citizen. You just had to like touch the actual ground. Mm-hmm. If not, you'd be sent back. And people risk their lives every single day, like to come. Like one of the ladies that works with my family, she tried to escape 18 times, and she'd get set 18 times. Like I'm like, wow. And she got back. She got sent back. She escaped. Finally, she made it here, but she got sent back like 17 times, and they would put her in jail for like some days, like sometimes like 2 months, sometimes like a week, depends on like how the capacity was in the prisons. But she's just like, it was crazy. It was wild.
But it was worth it for her to go to jail 18 times to make it here.
But so many people died on like that travel. Like she went on a boat. Both like these two families kind of went together. It was like a little raft. They had built these 2 rafts. And it was like 17 people on one and like 15 people on the other. And it's a raft that's really supposed to hold like 5 people. And they had like just enough food for like 3 days max.
Yeah.
And her parents were already in Miami, so her parents had collected all this money and had saved all this money over years for like this boat to meet them in the middle of the sea, pick them up, and then take them to Mexico and then cross the border because it like somehow is easier or something. And obviously that boat,
much harder.
and like that boat never showed up. They took their money, and like the 2 boats that they were with, the 2 little rafts, there was a bad storm, and one of them like drifted away, and all those 15 people died. Like,
oh my god,
completely. Like they never heard of them again. So it's sad. So people risk their lives every day. It's like, yeah, you're getting caught 18 times, but she was lucky that in those 18 times, like she at least even made it back to Cuba. Most of the time, like you're just dead. You know, it's like a long journey, and like they had planned for it to be on sea for like 3 days, and since that boat never showed up, they were in the ocean for like 8 days, so they were all starving. She said like people sunburned, like their skin was like terrible. There was like women that had like, this is really aggressive, but there's like women that had like their periods, and they were throwing them like out into sea, and she's like, there was sharks surrounding us. Like my sons are completely like afraid of like deep sea, obviously. And finally they like drifted into Mexico somehow, and then they were able to like cross over. But it's crazy. That's crazy. They go through a lot, and that shows like obviously there's an issue.
That if they're willing to risk, if she's willing to risk her life 18 times and her
kids,
children.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
Wow.
But anyway.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, I love...
Let's have another bite of this Cuban sandwich.
Yeah. So if you had to pick your favorite, I'm going to go on like a lighter note. Mm-hmm. If you had to pick your favorite Cuban restaurant in New York, could you name one? What about you, Dahlia, while Gabby's eating?
No,
yeah, I'm chewing.
I liked Cafe Havana. Havana or Havana?
Havana or Havana.
Yeah. I like that one, but that was because like it was my first one ever going there, and I was making Cubans at my catering company that I was working for in Rhode Island, and I never heard of a Cuban, and it's
in Soho, which is cute.
Yeah, it's a nice one. It was cute. It's always packed, and the margaritas get you fucked up.
See, margaritas are not Cuban. That's Mexican.
I didn't.
What's a Cuban drink?
Mojito.
Oh, okay. I guess
I
I
didn't even know that.
What about? Are there any other cocktails that are Cuban?
A Cuba Libre.
Water of life.
A Cuba Libre.
Cuba Libre.
Yeah, which is just, it's kind of like old school. People don't really drink it anymore. It's like rum and Coke.
Oh, okay.
But a mojito is really like the Cuban drink.
I don't think I've ever had like a good mojito.
Miami. Everybody makes them.
I guess so. Well,
they come with like the full sugar cane.
Miami for Nicole's bachelorette.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna get racks from you because
for sure.
We need it.
I think my favorite is Victor's Cafe.
Where is it?
Forgot.
I can look it
I
up.
haven't been in a really long
But what
time.
do you like about it?
It's like a cool family, and it seems to be the most authentic from all of the other places I've ever eaten at. I'm always disappointed. Like,
when you walk
they know
in.
like my sisters and stuff. No, they don't know me. I don't go that often, to be honest. Like, I never try to eat Cuban food here because every time I have, it's always like Mexican, really.
Yes, it is actually.
I've gone to like the fast casual Cubans, like Tina's and Sophie's. They're sort of like a fast casual Cuban food. Some of their stuff's like all right.
Do you
It's not
crave
bad.
like? Do you crave like a Cuban sandwich? Are you ever like, oh, I just really want a Cuban
No,
sandwich
it's so
right now?
funny. Cuban sandwiches are honestly kind of lame. Thanks for my Cuban sandwich, by the way. No, I'm kidding. People just like know the Cuban sandwich so well because it's called Cuban sandwich, but I don't really eat Cuban sandwiches that much. Like not even in Miami. Like I'd prefer a medianoche, which is like a Cuban sandwich, but we had mentioned it earlier with like the sweet bread, or like croqueta preparada, which is like a Cuban sandwich, but it's stuffed with croquetas on the inside. On
Oh
top
my
of
God.
it. I'm telling you, like we have no boundaries. We're like fry it,
Put it
deep
in
fry
a
it, put it in
sandwich.
a sandwich, feed it to your babies. Yeah,
What's your favorite kind of croquette?
ham.
Yeah.
It's the best in
It
my
is
opinion.
good.
But when I do crave Cuban food, I kind of cook it. And I crave, like, Cuban's food is really good, but it's a lot of stews. And I love stews, and I
Me
love
too.
soups. Like, it's probably my favorite food, like, soups and stews. And Cuban food has really good soups and stews. So that's what I crave more.
What's like the slow pork one?
The pernil.
The
don't know.
pork or beef, but it's,
No,
like, shredded.
pork. Yeah, it's shredded.
It's ropa vieja, but it's beef.
Oh no, then it's not the beef. No, it's not. It's not shredded. It's like chunks of pork.
Chunks of pork. But it's saucy?
Yeah, it's saucy.
How saucy?
I don't know how saucy. Maybe it was beef. I don't remember. I just remember having like a stew
A stew with...
and just being like, "Wow, this is so good."
I don't know. I can't think of it.
It's
But-
okay. Sorry. Just love a stew. I love a stew.
I love a stew.
But what kind of stew do you make at home?
I make a lot of stews, but also I cook a lot of like Spanish stews because my grandma was from Spain originally, so I always like crave all that stuff. But I make ropa vieja at home. I make arroz con pollo, which is not a stew. I make a lot of arroz con pollo. It's like my comfort food. And then oxtail, like Cuban food is like the oxtail stew. At
Yum.
Versailles is really good. I always order that, but it's like such a fatty move. Me and my sisters are like, oxtail. Anybody want to split a rabo? So yeah, but they have everything. Like, it's so good. I'm getting hungry now.
Sorry, we gave you a Cuban. We gave her the shittiest Cuban.
No, I like
No,
it. It's actually very
it's
good.
good.
I would say like this is probably the best Cuban I've had in the city.
Okay. You want to do lunchbox or you want to? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we're wasted. Just
Yeah.
kidding. We're not
no,
even
I
drinking.
should have offered you some wine, but I didn't. So I do have another thing for you. Well, we have two.
Another
Actually,
gift.
I don't know, Dahlia.
Sweet.
You want to do that one? I don't know what that is. I didn't know you ordered something.
Yeah.
Do that one then.
Okay.
Do that
So I know that you said you don't like guava and cheese.
No, I do. It's my favorite combination
No.
of things ever.
Okay, well.
That's not a pastelito. I'm down. Is that?
Yeah, it is.
Oh my god.
I think so.
It's not a pastelito. It's like a pie.
No, it's it said guava and
Pastel.
cheese pastry.
Yeah, pastel. A pastel, which is really good. I love that. And I'm down. Guava and cheese is like my go-to everything. Like when I had to think about
never
making dessert, I'm like
enjoy-
guava and cheese.
You like guava and cheese.
I don't
It's
know why
so
I don't
good.
enjoy guava so much. But
It's like the jelly of choice in my family. If you open my refrigerator, it's guava jelly with cream cheese.
go at it.
Where
Let us know.
That's what I like would eat growing up. I eat that still at home. I buy like the logs of guava and the logs of cream cheese, and I put them on Cuban crackers, and I'm just go to town.
That's like what you eat at night when you come home from
Yeah,
work.
that or grilled cheese, which I put guava jelly inside of.
What brand of guava jelly do you use?
I don't know the name, but I know what it looks like.
So
It has a guava colored.
so
Lit.
Let me sis. I'll figure it out after. I forget the name of it.
so if no one.
It's pretty good.
So this looks like a piece of pie. Tell me the difference
Yeah, it
between
is.
pie and this.
This is like a piece of pie. It's a pastel. It's just a pie that has cheese and jelly. But it's not a pastelito.
What's the difference?
A pastelito is like phyllo dough, and then it's like either piped, or it's piped with like guava.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's different pastelitos. There's like the cheese ones, which are long and skinny, and it's cheese with like sugar on the inside and outside. But it's phyllo dough essentially. That's the difference. This is pie crust.
You can
Would
finish
be
it
very
if
And
you
do
want
they
it.
layer
Sorry,
it
I
with...
forgot to
No,
share.
no. Finish it.
Do they layer it with butter?
Psh, the amount of butter that goes into the actual phyllo dough. It used to be lard, but we changed it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it used to be just like straight
Were
pork
people
lard.
getting heart attacks?
No, people were loving it. But then we switched it to just like butter.
So I feel like this one, the guava flavor is not really that strong, but
Because it's guava paste. To me, this is like pretty legit.
This tastes like marmalade.
It tastes like home.
Marmalade, though. Like,
Maybe I'm
not
gonna have
like
another
a
bite.
Jelly.
It's not like the cheese isn't that sweet, but everything else is pretty sweet.
It's like a cheesecake cheese, like sweetness. It's definitely not a.
okay.
Like
So
what you see in pastelitos and stuff is literally cream cheese.
So it is cream cheese. I was just gonna ask you what kind of cheese is it?
Yeah, it's like cream cheese, and then you cook it, and it gets kind of like that texture.
yeah, like
It's almost like curdled or something.
like chewy, but
yeah.
kind of curdled. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now?
Now I just started. They already know what I'm doing.
We have to ask. The listeners are dying to know. They keep calling in.
I just became exec chef at a restaurant in Greenpoint in Brooklyn, New York. It's called Pony Boy. It's been pretty cool because I pretty much was able to take like full creative control, and I've changed the whole menu. It's definitely a lot of work. But it's
executive
awesome.
chef.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm having like a really great time, and it's nice to be like, oh, that's right. Like I can be creative, and I have that in me. Because after being a line cook for so long, you forget that you could also like come up with recipes and like be creative and like bring your own flavors into it. So that's been like the most rewarding part about it, for sure.
Yeah.
And like being a boss is kind of fun.
Is it something? Is it something that you want to do for a while?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a cool team. James and Michael, which are the owners, are great people to work for, and they really trust me, which is nice. And I see like a lot of growth there for them, and I want to like be able to help them. They're helping me, but I think like down the line, this would be like a great opportunity for Pony Boy. So yeah, I see myself doing it for a while for sure.
And it's great because your goal is to own like a bar,
Something
right?
similar,
Something
yeah.
that's similar.
A little smaller, but yeah.
That's great practice
Yeah,
for
it
you.
is. Definitely. And just like doing things that I wasn't used to doing before, like doing orders and managing people's schedules.
What's the hardest thing that you didn't expect it to be? The hard part.
Using the printer. Just kidding. The hardest part is finding employees, to be honest.
I feel
It's
like
been
that's
really
just
hard.
always a struggle
Everyone.
in any restaurant.
And right now with COVID and like everyone's on unemployment and nobody really wants to go
But I
back
have a
to
question.
work.
Are people still on unemployment?
Yeah.
Like I thought it had run out
No,
a
September,
long time
right?
ago.
September?
So they say they'll probably push it back again. 'Cause
I had no idea. I guess
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and they're talking about how like people are struggling now to pay for their stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, you were
Well,
getting
obviously.
paid
yeah.
for certain.
And also,
things.
but for positions like people in the kitchen, you're essentially making the same money because
Yeah,
working
you
in a
are.
kitchen, you don't make a lot of money. You do it because you love it or you do it out of necessity, whatever it is, but you're not making a lot of money. And you may be making like $200 less being on unemployment. It's kind of like, why am I gonna go to work every day and hustle 16 hours a day
16 hours a day, 6 days a week for the same amount
for
of
the
money.
same amount of money, like $200 less? I don't care. I won't take those $200. So I think they're doing like a disservice by continuing to like give us this unemployment. Even me, I was like, I'm gonna be on unemployment. Like, this is awesome. I work every day
Yeah.
for so many hours. I'm practically making the same money. I'm chilling hard, having a great time. And then finally, I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I actually need to get back to work. I'm going crazy. But I could understand why like people don't want to go back.
especially
so-
our industry.
Especially in the restaurant
Yeah,
industry.
in the restaurant industry, and that's been like the hardest part, finding employee. And then on top of that, it's just like the space I work in is very small. So I have like these ideas of things I want to do, but I don't have the space for it yet. So it's just being able to like find that balance of things I could do, and also things that are easy enough but still creative enough that like the people that I do have that have never really been cooks before can like successfully execute. Yeah. But
are you doing service every night?
Yeah. Well, not every night. I don't work Sundays, which is pretty nice.
We're going to have to come see you at Pony Boy.
Yes, we do. We definitely do.
But it's fun. Like, I'm rebuilding the actual kitchen, which is nice. So I'm getting like a salamander and some sinks for oysters and things. So
oysters.
Cool. Oysters.
We're coming for, when's your oyster happy hour?
When I get my sink.
Okay.
Because we love an oyster.
Yeah,
I had so many oysters this weekend.
I know, and now that I have a salamander, like I love warm oysters. I just like want to pop them in there and just be like, dreamy. But it's been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's obviously a lot of work. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but it's rewarding to be like. But really the hardest struggle in general is changing the mentality of Pony Boy, which is very much like a cocktail spot. It's like where you go and have fun and like get drunk and have great cocktails. And their cocktails are great. Like they make everything in house, all their simple syrups, all their like juices are fresh. They squeeze everything. But getting like that customer to realize like, oh, this is now a restaurant.
So they're also doing good food.
Yeah, which is also doing good food. So a little bit about it is like playing this part. Like I'm always in full chef coat and like a long apron. Well, long apron because that's what they had, and I was like, wow, I feel like JFK. But like, so I'm in full chef coat, and people are like, this is such a chill place. Like, you don't have to be like that. I'm like, yeah, but it's an image. Like, people walk in here. It's an open kitchen.
Oh, it is an open kitchen.
Full open kitchen. It's tiny, but it's an open kitchen. So like, I want them to see like this is like an actual kitchen. So a part of that is just like
take it seriously.
Yeah, take it seriously and do that even though it's pretty hot. I'm like,
and in your first job as a chef and you're young and a female, I think it's awesome that
you should wear a chef
you should
coat.
You should represent yourself the way you want to be represented.
Plus I love that. Like I love the chef and like the kitchen culture. Like I've always liked that. I've always liked the tiers of the kitchen. I've always loved like working my way up.
Yeah.
Like I liked that hustle and that fight. And I liked the stations. I like that order. I'm like not at a point that I'm in stations yet, but I'm kind of like hot station and like raw station. Mm-hmm. I'm working a lot of it, but it's fun and it's like cool to be able to do that. But a lot of that is also training like our bar team, which are just a bunch of like cool little New York City kids, or not city, but like Brooklyn kids who don't have that much experience, but are all such hustlers. Like they go in there every day like ready to like hustle, and they have to serve so many people. Like I don't know how they do it, but they've never really worked in like a professional kitchen ever, or a kitchen or even a bar. So it's like teaching everybody like corner, like behind, like now this is a running kitchen. So
Isn't
like
that crazy?
So it's crazy. Yeah, like if I'm coming in with like candied carrots, like this is hot caramel like candy carrots.
Yeah.
Like I need you to be like corner, like knock on the door. And they were like, oh yeah, you're right, Chef Gabby. Like, and it's like nice. And I'm like, oh, they're like
Chef
so
Gabby.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm like, they all call me Chef Gabby. And I'm like, thanks.
They
guys.
should. They really should. Because like you have to start out with them.
Yeah, and they're honestly like an awesome team. I love them. They're super respectful and like such cool guys. And they're like, and I like to teach them about the kitchen. Every time I put a plate out, I like have a little staff meeting. I'm like, hey guys, these are scallops. They came in from Japan. You know, this dish originated here, but we're mixing it up. And like I let them try it all and sort of like understand it. Also so they could sell it, but really just because a lot of them have never even seen this kind of food. And so they're just like, oh, this is awesome and so cool. And it's a little family, so I love it.
How's the customers? Because, like, there are customers that come in and try.
Yeah.
Have they been enjoying the food?
They have. Like, every day I always hear, like, wow, like, everything's been so good. I didn't know that this place, like, serves good food. And I was like, yeah, yay, bring your friends. Come over. But it's good. It's a good feeling to see it. Like, when we first started, it was really, really slow. And I was, like, prepping all this food. And I was like, I'm over prepping. I'm, like, in that mentality of, like, bulk.
Right.
Yeah.
And
well,
then,
you came from a place that serves how many people a day? How many people a day do they serve?
Where? In Versailles?
Yeah.
I mean, just even in Barbalude, it was bulk. But in Versailles,
I mean, even at Barbalude, what?
It was bulk.
Yeah.
That was like
a lot.
You'd get like 150 to like 300 covers a night.
Yeah.
And lunch was also, right?
And lunch was on the weekends very busy.
Yeah.
Brunch.
So it's just crazy.
Yeah, brunch was crazy. I hated a brunch.
Yeah.
But like you had to love it because it was like sauce station, so it was also brunch. But yeah, so it's just doing that, and then but they like it. So it's nice to see the kitchen like pick up and like that bulk that I was doing in the beginning. Now that I kind of need it, so I'm like, oh, this is a good feeling seeing that like our numbers have gone up so much, and like people are responding to the food, but still trying to respect the fact that like this is still a bar, and I love it for that, and trying to find like the right balance of like not making it too pretentious, but still serving like bluefin from Japan,
Like beautiful ingredients, but
beautiful
not
ingredients in a
over-
very like chill kind of way. It's still a bar, you know. I don't like want to change up, but I want to sort of elevate it a little bit, so. Which I like. I love that kind of food, so.
That's how I think we all like to eat, little
Yeah.
snacks and things that are just
Yeah.
good. And
I know. I made tapas the other night for dinner, and like somebody like that came over to you was like, "Oh, I'm not really a fan of tapas. Like,
What?
I want like."
you're like, what? That's
He was
the
like, "I
best."
want like an entree," and I'm just like, "Oh my god."
Who was this?
No comment.
Was it a date?
No,
Oh,
it wasn't.
Because I was like, bye.
Yes. No, thank
no.
you.
You're like,
No.
and that's as long as that date lasted.
No,
Yeah.
my man, he likes his tapas. He actually is obsessed with Spain.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Obsessed.
I
Yeah.
love tapas.
I love tapas.
I love it.
I
I
love
I also
it.
just like always over order at a restaurant, so like
Me
tapas
too.
is the best.
Yeah, well, even if it's not tapas, we're sharing a bunch of entrees.
We're sharing everything.
Yeah, we're sharing everything. I like doing that because I like to taste everything.
Me too. And I don't feel like it's over ordering because I finish it. So I'm like, leave me alone. I'm not over ordering. This is
I know.
this is being finished.
Me and Nicole went out to eat the other day with Nick, and we ordered so much.
I was like, oh, we need 2 of those. There's 4 of us. We need 2 of
We need
those.
to- they're like, no, we could just add an extra piece so we could be for.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we'll do 2 orders.
That's
Yeah,
nice
and
of
we
them.
ate it all.
Yeah,
We
did
ate
eat
it all.
We did eat it all, but you could go. You could finish it off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we don't want to keep you up too late because
You
we
guys-
know you've been
Actually,
working
you guys
all
got
day.
me out of work early, which was pretty nice. I was like, guys, I have to go do a podcast for Pony Boy. I'm so sorry, gotta bounce. And
So
then
maybe tell everyone again where Pony Boy is.
Pony Boy is in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Come check us out. We're open every day except for Mondays. I don't work
Nice.
there Sunday, but you should still go.
What are the hours?
From 5 to 10:30 at night.
Maybe
Food.
changing soon.
Food.
We'll
Food
see.
maybe changing soon. Kitchen closes at 10:30, but the bar is open till 3 a.m. and it's really fun. And they have amazing cocktails.
We'll be there soon
Yeah,
enough.
we'll definitely be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You could sit at the counter so we could talk shit.
Oh.
Yes.
We can critique your food.
Yeah.
Be like, I think that's an 8.5.
Yeah.
Like,
In Miami, this would be a 5, but for here, it's totally an 8.5.
Well,
All right, well, thank you,
so
Gabby.
much,
Guys, I had
seriously.
fun.
um,
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the snacks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
Like,
course.
are you hungry? I was like, always. I wanted to be like, yeah, I am, but I don't want to make her feel bad.
if I was like,
I haven't
oh,
eaten.
too bad, we don't have
Yeah.
dinner for you. But all right, thank you
Thank
again,
you.
and
Enjoy. We wish you luck for Pony Boy.
Thank you.
yeah,
And
good
we're
luck.
going to come in and everyone go eat there, please. And follow us on Instagram at KeishMyAssPod and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you.
That's not how it goes at all. But I know it has a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing it. She's doing it. We don't even need it. The guy that makes the podcast is going to be like, what are they doing? Okay, bye.